Minasan konnichiwa, and welcome to the Board Game Dojo. My name is Eric, and I'm here with Piplup. Together, we are taking a look at an absolutely adorable dexterity game from Japan, Yura Yura Penguin, and its newest sibling being fulfilled on Kickstarter right now, Yura Yura Penguin Mini, both by Yabuchi Ryoko-san. In today's video, we're going to be looking at how to play, the differences between the two, and if they're worth the money to bring to your country. Today's video reflects the opinions of not only myself, but other dojo senseis, H and Francis. So without further ado, let's begin today's episode of Import or Not. Dekita.
To set up, first set aside the C cards and the starting card. The C cards are more bendy, and the starting card is more of a cardboard. Next, fold one of the icebergs into 3 and put it in the center. Put the starting card on top. This will be the beginning of your tower. Next, deal out cards based on the number of players. In this case, the 2-player game, we have 10 cards each. The cards won't actually be face up, that's just for this video. Next, put the ice rocks and 4 penguins out to sea. The retail edition only comes with 4 penguins, but if you have any extras because of the Kickstarter, choose 4 and put the rest back in the box. Finally, put the icebergs out to sea and you're ready to play. The starting player is the person who most recently ate ice cream.
Yura Yura in Japanese means wobbly, so this game is called Wobbly Penguin. Besides sounding like Piplup after a long night in Shibuya, that lends itself to the implication that this game is about balancing a not-so-stable tower. This game doesn't have many rules, and if you know the game Uno, you're already a good chunk of the way there. On your turn, you do 2 steps. The first step is to complete the challenge on the card played before you, and that's pictured in the symbol in the middle here. So, since I'm the starting player, I need to put down an iceberg on top of this card. Like so. And actually, this is a good opportunity to go into what each of the cards do.
Here we have all the cards laid out. The ones in the bottom half are ones in games like Uno. The top half are ones exclusive to this game. First, we have the next player draws 2. Next, we have reverse turn order. And finally, skip the next player. Now to the top half, the one card you've already seen before, add an iceberg to the top. Next, we have the add a penguin card. You add a penguin to the second highest level. If there are already 4 penguins on the tower, simply move it from the bottommost rung to the correct position. Finally, we have the ice rock cards. Add 1 or 2 ice rocks to the level that has the least amount of ice rocks. Be careful, even though they're both ice rock cards, you cannot put them on top of each other. If 2 layers are tied for the least amount of ice rocks, simply choose which one to put them on.
If you complete the challenge without knocking over the tower, you get to advance to step 2, which is to play a card from your hand. You can play a card from your hand matching the same symbol or the same color as the card played before it. So in this case, the card played before me by Piplup was a light blue penguin, which means that I could play a card from my hand of any color that's a penguin, or I could play any light blue card. In the game, there are 4 different suits to know about. The 3 colors, which are dark blue, light blue, and white, and the aura card, which acts like a wild card. You can play this on top of any card, and then decide what color it's going to be for the next player. If you cannot play a card that matches the same color or the same symbol, simply draw a card from the sea. If you can play it right away, but if not, keep it in your hand, and the next player doesn't have to complete any challenge. Play will continue onwards and upwards until one of 3 endgame conditions happen. The first is that somebody runs out of cards in their hand, making sure that when they have only 1 card left, they yell penguin. If they don't yell penguin, then they have to draw another card. Once they play the final card, they are the winners. The other thing would be the probably obvious endgame condition of if the tower falls over. The rulebook clarifies that this can be the whole tower or just multiple cards, so be careful when you're placing cards on top. In that case, besides that player that knocks the tower over, the person with the least amount of their cards left wins. The third endgame condition I haven't run into yet, but I can see it happening, would be if all of the cards in the sea that you're drawing from run out. In that case, all players share the victory.
Now that you know how to play, let's go over the differences. The main one being, of course, size. The mini one is a little bit bigger than a standard set of playing cards, while the full size is a little bit bigger than 5 of them. What's interesting is that both boxes share the same height, as you can see here.
Standing up against each other, you can see just how big the size difference is as well. These two towers are exactly the same amount of cards, with an ice rock in the second highest level and a cute little penguin right on top. So you can see that 3 levels of the mini are comparable to about 2 levels of the full size. Now this size difference culminates in 2 main differences, one being in price. The full size will run you about 3,000 yen, and when I put my parents' address in the US into Amazon Japan, was an extra 2,000 yen of shipping, for a total of 5,000 yen. Now, the best we can do for this one is guesstimate based on the Kickstarter price. The Kickstarter for the mini ran about 1,900 yen. Now, because it's quite a bit smaller, I would imagine that shipping should be a little bit cheaper as well. So let's guesstimate it at about 1,000 yen just to be safe. So you're talking at about maybe a 2,000 yen difference including shipping. The second big difference is going to be in gameplay. Now the rules are the same, so what I mean by gameplay is just the physicality of it. The smaller tower tends to be a lot more fragile and prone to an accidental bump where you wouldn't get one here, because you can see how thin it is between these layers, between these levels comparatively to the full size. In the mini version, the structure is a lot more fragile and prone to falling over earlier, whereas I've gotten to the end of the game where people run out of cards more often on the full size. Another one is just more of a personal problem that I have. You see, I cannot keep my hand perfectly still. It's just impossible for me to do. Usually this is not really a problem when I play dexterity games, and I play a lot of them. The only other game I've ever had a problem with is Ethan's 2016 release, Tokyo Highway, where you're placing down popsicle sticks to make a highway, and then putting a small car on top of those popsicle sticks. What'll tend to happen for me is on the mini, there's just not enough space here for the level, so I either have to risk my already small hands, my hands are not very big, I either have to risk bumping it because of shaking, or I just end up like half throwing the ice rock onto the level. This could just be a me thing, and I wouldn't bring it up except for that I think other people might have a similar issue, but also the fact that this game is geared really towards families. And I have a little bit of a worry if you're going to try playing this with an older audience or young kids who are trying to do a little bit too much. We played this with about 8 different people, and all of them have preferred the gameplay of the full size. But you have to take into account price as well. Hearing that everybody we played with preferred the full-size version, I wanted to go back to the Kickstarter for the Mini and see what the marketing was as to what they were aiming for with the Mini version. And part of it is just portability. Yeah, this is going to be, it's going to fit in a bag much easier than the full-size version. This could maybe fit in purse. This one, probably not so much. Another one was that it's a better travel companion, which got me thinking a bit. If you've listened to the podcast, you'll know that I'm very interested in how culture and gaming can teach us about one another. Originally, I was thinking as to how it could be a travel companion, but I was thinking about it from an American perspective. Airplanes are not going to be where I'm going to play a balancing game, especially if most of the time the tower is going to fall over and pieces are going to go everywhere. But then I remembered that this is going to be designed to be played mostly by Japanese people. And a lot of Japanese people travel by bullet train, which is a very stable form of transportation. So this you probably could actually play on the bullet train, bring with you onto it, and have no problem. Whereas this one's going to be this full size is going to be too big to play on the tray tables in front of you. So I'm wondering if that is more where the marketing was for this one. Because otherwise, I don't really know why you would get the small one versus the big one, when the big one gives you a much better overall feeling for the game. Now, I hope I'm not sounding dismissive of the miniature version. We were actually quite impressed with how Yabuchi-san could get this dexterity game into such a tiny package and make it work with the same rule set. But there are a couple questions you have to ask. is one, is it really worth it to have this when everybody we played with prefers the full version? Secondly, you're going to have to wait to get this mini version. It is currently being fulfilled on Kickstarter, and for reasons that are outside of Yabuchi-san's control, not really sure when it's going to finish fulfilling, and in that case, not really sure when it's going to go to retail. Whereas right now, you can get the full version on your favorite Japanese site or even Yabuchi-san's store, which I'll post in the episode description below. And don't worry, it's not an affiliate link or anything like that. So is it worth the wait? Or if this sounds like a game you want, you could just get this one right now, which we all agree was the better version. But is either version worth the money? That's the question we're here to answer. Since it is our first video, we wanted to explain a bit about how we grade.
The system that we found best describes how we are going to rate games is, weirdly enough, the Michelin Guide. Now, we don't think we're that important, but we like the way that even 1 star means that they recommend it, but 1 to 3 stars is recommendation at a different extent. According to Michelin, 3 stars is an exceptional cuisine, which is worth a special journey, 2 stars is worth a detour, and 1 star is worth a visit. So for example, a 3 star would be worth flying to Tokyo just to visit the restaurant. 2 stars is if you're already in Tokyo, it's worth visiting Kyoto for. And 1 star is if you're in Tokyo and in the mood for Italian food, then this restaurant is really good in that category. Like that, we're rating board games like that, where even if we give it 1 star, we're recommending you import it. 3 stars is a luxurious board game that we find exceptional and worth paying a large price for. 2 stars is still an essential, but maybe not at the premium price, but still really good. And 1 star means that we recommend importing it, but mostly if you're looking for a game in that category.
The first thing we look at is effort. Is it even available? Can you get the game on something like a big site like Amazon or Rakuten? Can you get it on a resale site? Or is it completely sold out everywhere? The other aspect of that is in the rules. Since you're watching this channel, I'm guessing that you speak English. So are there English rules available somewhere? Is it something like Yura Yura Penguin, where there's 2 separate rulebooks, one in English and one in Japanese? Or is there available with a quick Google search? That's what we're asking with effort. Another aspect is the value component. Sometimes importing can double the price of a game. A game can be worth it at 2,000 yen, but if it costs another 2,000 yen to import, then is it worth it in the same way? As well as, how are the component quality? That comes into play here as well. Another thing is just how unique the game is. Can you get something similar in your own country that gives you much the same feeling? And uniqueness can oftentimes overlap with other ones, especially value. Because if you can get something of the same feeling for 2,000 yen in your country, but it costs you 10,000 yen to get it here, plus import, then the uniqueness doesn't really hold up. Another thing we look at is aesthetics and theme. Japan has a great range of games by big publishers and small ones, which means you get some really interesting thematic tie-ins, like this game that is a trick taker where you're playing American football, or this game which has you leading a cult, or this one which is all about planting trees and harvesting and figuring out when to do which. But for every great theme and great aesthetic and great art, like Yura Yura Penguin, there's also some that have, shall we say, questionable art, especially in the realm of representation of women. So we try to answer whether the theme and aesthetic is something that we think is worth taking a look at on your own game table. We will take a look at replay ability. This includes partly the strategy or gameplay or luck aspects of the games that we are recommending, but this also is trying to stay away from games that rely on a gimmick. We don't want to recommend a game for you to spend your money importing, just to play it once and then have to move it on, unless it's something really unique or really cool, in which case we'll say that in our review. So overall, what do we think? So for effort, availability-wise, the full size is available easily. You can get it on Amazon in Japan or on Yoichi-san's web store, which again I will have in the episode description below. But if you're looking for the mini size, if you're really eyeing that up, we're not sure because of the delays with Kickstarter. Who knows when the retail version will be available? But if whenever that becomes known, I'll put that as well in the episode description below. Rules-wise, whether you get the Kickstarter version or the retail version, it includes Japanese rulebook and an English rulebook. Some of the rules are hard to understand in the English rulebook, but that's because, machine translation, Japanese to English, is really, really difficult. So mostly it's totally fine, and hopefully the earlier part of this video makes everything pretty clear. So overall effort, positive. Value-wise, the meeples are just absolutely gorgeous. Very, very detailed, something that I enjoy showing off. Some of the cards are chipping away a bit, but I think some of that is just the sacrifice that is needed to be made. With this kind of game, I think you want a card that is this thin and flimsy. It makes the game more challenging. So I think that's just a trade-off. So it's not really a negative, and the overall game with import fee right now, for the full set, full size, is 5,000 yen. Mini size, not really sure yet, but without importing fee, this game is 3,000 yen, and this game and mini size is 1,900 yen or 2,000 yen. So you can take a guess there. Not a good thing, not a bad thing. Middle. Uniqueness. It's interesting because the Uno mechanic is not really that innovative, and it's stacking, which is also not really that innovative, but together it's something unique. But that can be said about another game that is popular and very, very available, which is Rhino Hero. And that is something that was argued about when this game came out here in Japan, is that board games here in Japan have recently become much more accessible. And I think that is partly to do with the coronavirus. And so you can get board games at more stores now, and one of those games that are available at most of these stores is Rhino Hero. So it's more of an argument to be made here of which one is better, because they're within 1,000 yen of each other, which is not much of a price difference. But abroad, that is a big difference, because the base game for Rhino Hero is only 1,700 yen, but with importing fee, this game is again 5,000 yen. So you have to wonder, is it worth 3 times? Is it 3 times as good as Rhino Hero? And I think part of that has to do with the aesthetic and theme, which we'll move on to, is that, it's adorable. It's way cuter. I think the theme is so much better here than in a game like Rhino Hero. Constantly, when I've played this with people, they are taking long turns, not because they can't decide what to do, but because they're busy taking pictures, because the penguins just look so cute on the tower with the ice rocks that look like little icicles everywhere. The colors and the box art are really great, and I really like this box art. They've got little penguin facts around the outside, and something that's definitely seems intentional is that the box has a place for everything. Clearly this is where the sea cards go, and penguins go here, and the icicle, like the little icebergs to stack on, go here. And so this seems really intentional to help with the approachability, because it makes it so that kids can do this. Kids can help put this away. Kids can do this. And the rule book is laid out in a way that is so easy to follow that I think that kids could follow this and help their parents learn how to play this game. There's so many pictures and so many arts, so much art, and they're very simple to follow. So overall, the aesthetic and the theme is an absolute plus, and is definitely something that separates it out from a game that is kind of has a similar feel of Rhino Hero. It definitely differentiates itself. Replayability-wise, there's not really a whole lot of strategy to this game. but I don't really think that's the point. It's definitely filling in an interesting niche, which is the simple and quick game, which is somewhat rare for dexterity. I mean, I can get this set up in less than a minute. Now that I've taught it a few times, I can definitely teach it in less than a minute, although I definitely took longer for this video. It's a very particular niche that I can't do with a whole lot of other dexterity games, and it's something that I can play with everyone because the rule explanation is so short, because a lot of people have played Uno before. They just immediately can pick up on the rules and immediately enjoy it right away in the first game, rather than some other dexterity games which are still really good and might be approachable, but it takes a game or two to really get the hang of it or get really good at it. But it is aesthetically beautiful as a game. It's not the best, but again, I don't really think that it's the point. I don't think it's going for the most strategic game that you've ever played. It's not the point. I think it's a very family-friendly game. It's a very accessible game. And one more thing for replayability is that I think maybe if you're more of a hobbyist gamer and you're thinking of, okay, could I bring this to a game group? I think the replayability is probably pretty low. But if you're looking at this saying, okay, is this something I can play with my kids? Is this something I can bring to a family event? Really, really high replayability. I'm gonna definitely be bringing this to holidays with my family. My cousins are older now, but I'm gonna still probably play this with them. This is that good. I'm just gonna bring it. I'm gonna make sure I have room in my suitcase to bring this game. I really, really like it. So overall, what does that mean? So overall, we gave it a 1 star, which means that we recommend it. That 1 star sounds bad by itself, but it's really, really good. It means we recommend it, especially if you're looking for something family-friendly, quick, accessible. It's a ton of fun. It is important, I think, to specify that my wife gave it 2 stars, and she's someone that's new to gaming, and that 3 people that I've played this with that are new to gaming bought this while we were playing this game. So in their minds, this is essential. This is an essential game that most people should have in their collection. Whereas Francis and I, who are more hobbyists, saw it as really, really good in the specific context of this is what you're looking for, but maybe not for hobbyists. So I think it's important to differentiate that, but both of us say really, really good. Definitely recommend importing this, even for 5,000 yen. I think Francis summed it up really nice when he said it puts 2 things that people know together in a way that feels innovative, and then adding in that it's cute, it just makes this immediately accessible. The game is just so much more than the sum of its parts. Like, Uno is fine, Jenga is fine, but together, this is a great game. The reason that didn't give 2 stars, the reason it doesn't get the essential mark, is because Rhino Hero and Rhino Hero Super Battle exist. And not only do they exist, but they are very, very available usually in the language of the country that you're in. With importing fee, it ends up being more expensive than Rhino Hero Super Battle. And Rhino Hero Super Battle is definitely more of a recommendation for hobbyists. If you're looking for something to bring to a game group, I really like it. And it's also still accessible enough that you can play it with kids. And then Rhino Hero just gives you a similar feel. Now again, if this aesthetic is something that you really, really like with the penguins, and I hope you do, it's super adorable, still 1 star means that we recommend getting this. And this probably goes to a 2 star if you have kids. But for the general population, this is, if you're looking for a quick, simple, family-friendly balancing game, this is one for you. If you are looking for a dexterity game that is more gamey, but still really family-friendly and accessible, we really recommend here at Board Game Dojo, we recommend Iten's Crash Octopus, which is really great. And if you're looking for a penguin themed, because you like the penguins, but maybe this isn't what you're looking for, we really recommend the dexterity game Ice Cool and Ice Cool 2, which is more of a flicking game. Both of these are flicking games. And I'll post links to the video. Hopefully I can figure out YouTube enough to link it right here. Here-ish. But if not, it'll be in the episode notes as well to some content creators with videos to see if these are more up your alley. But that is it. Thank you so much for being here today, and until next time, arigatou gozaimashita.